and I'm going to say hello, everyone. How are we doing? Happy Friday. I'm very excited for our uh, March tasting. I almost put my name as March. Um, with Scotch Drinkers Only, with Melissa and Howard, who I will introduce here in a second. It's our International Women's Day tasting. So, International Women's Day, I believe, is tomorrow. So, um, and Melissa here, who's, one of the owners of Scotch Drinkers, I really appreciate because you come from a finance background. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself and Scotch Drinkers Only, what you're doing, what you're trying to do with the brand. And I'm gonna have everyone pour the Arran 18, which is the first one we're gonna drink. So go ahead, pour that, and we'll get talking. So,
Sure.
Melissa, the floor is yours.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, Nando and Execs Whiskey Club for having us and appreciate everyone spending their Friday night with us. We're super excited to share these amazing drams. And as Howard kind of alluded to, Nando has picked some really amazing drams here tonight. We do a lot of tastings, but I think you can kind of gather we're starting out with an 18-year
From Arran.
from Arran Distillery. Nando was up with the game just a little bit here.
And
So,
Arran was one of our favorite, or one of my favorite tastings of all time. A lot of people speak really fondly of that tasting we did with them. So I was really happy that you guys have that available.
yeah.
And this one's incredible. We'll introduce ourselves, but
We'll introduce ourselves, then we'll get back into
yeah,
it. But
this one
we're
definitely
love
should
this
get
one.
in the glass. It'll benefit with a little air in there. It's delicious.
So, as Nando mentioned, I am Melissa. This is my husband, Howard, also my business partner. So, interestingly, I stumbled upon Nando's Club and I was intrigued by the story of Execs Whiskey Club because, as Nando may have mentioned, I am a CPA, I'm an MBA. My husband is
I did tax.
he did tax, not as
Ooh.
fun. He was at Deloitte for a number of years working in the tax technology transformation group there. So we definitely understand that aspect of things. About 3 years ago, Howard had traveled extensively over in the UK and explored some of the amazing whiskeys that they have over in the UK that just weren't available in the United States at that point. So we started thinking, how can we make this something to bring whiskey to the United States and make a business out of it? So here we are. And about 2 years ago, I decided he's having too much fun. I'm not really loving SEC reporting and ASC 842. Who loves that?
Melissa was tired of lease accounting.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
I joined him. So our business model is really to bring things into the US to the market that are not here. We're never going to bring things that are, your bigger name distilleries that are already exposed to the market. Those guys already have plenty of marketing. Everyone knows who they are. We're trying to bring brands that people aren't exposed to that we think are doing amazing things and that we love. Everything that we bring in to the States is what we've tried, and we've met with the owners, we've tried the barrels, we've been to their warehouses, we've talked to them. A lot of them are very small businesses like us, and we're trying to get them exposure in the United States to enthusiasts like you. So,
Love it.
Howard,
We
anything to add?
appreciate it.
That was terrific. I will say, because I come from a consulting background, we have a PowerPoint slide deck for this tasting today.
There you
And
go. Sounds good.
I'm not even joking.
I believe you.
It's about 200 slides deep. I think we'll be
Oh, there
able
we
to,
go.
to make it within the hour that
You're gonna give me
uh,
PTSD from work now. Come on, man.
we do actually have a slide deck though for you.
It's not 200 slides.
Whenever you're ready, I'll give you guys presentation
Yeah.
tomorrow. I think you can maybe share it. Go for it whenever you're ready.
Okay. Okay. We
Um,
because we visited the distilleries and we visited the warehouses.
Pictures
There's
and things
pictures of
like
the
that.
owners and
yeah.
yeah. Let me try to find sharing the screen. So here we go. Share.
And then we're drinking Creetown, which is actually owned by Whiskey Broker,
Correct.
right?
It's the posh label.
So
His wife Jane, I think, has fancied it up.
yeah, over the last 7 years, I think we've had three different expressions of Whiskey Broker over the years. Two in our Bruichladdich tastings over time, and then one other that I honestly can't remember, but I believe it's been three times.
So I know I've heard of Tullabardine before, but I didn't realize. But they're actually, it's actually created by Creetown Distillery, or is it? Help me understand.
They're an independent distillery. We'll get into it a little bit more. We'll explain, but Creetown is an independent bottler, so they purchase the cask from Tullabardine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the most important thing is we're going to have free shipping for everyone on here. And so I want to have that on slide 1, because sometimes we do tastings and people buy one bottle at a time.
And then they'll get to the end and be angry that
Yeah,
they didn't know about the coupon.
And it's tough for our retail to try to they don't like to merge things. So we won't wait till the end. We're just going to put that out there from the beginning. Nando Rocks is the free shipping code. And so for all orders over 200, which is about 2 bottles typically, it's free shipping. They ship to 46 states.
Nice.
So we'll get that.
Real quick, I apologize because I guess it's still not clear to me because I haven't heard of you guys. So are you guys an independent bottler? Or are you a store? Or are you both? Like, are
So
you?
Unless you want to take it, let me take
You can take this one.
So what we wanted to do, as Melissa said, so when I traveled into the UK and I spent time there for work, they had all these great bottlings, all these great whiskeys, and I came back home and we lived in Pennsylvania at the time, and it was a state system, and all the good whiskeys that I was enjoying in the UK and in London and Scotland weren't available. So what I wanted to do is come up with a way that we could get the same experience of the same artisan spirits and allow people to buy it. So what we are is we're the importer. So in the 3-tier system, there's the producer. That's people like Creetown or like Arran or like Tullabardine that are producing it. We're the importer and the wholesaler. And then to be compliant in the 3-tier system, you need a retailer. So we've partnered with an awesome retailer, Mashville Wine and Spirits. It's based in New York State. And so behind our portal, which is scotchdrinkersonly.com, the retailer that's licensed in New York State fulfills all the orders. They buy the product from us, and they're just awesome to work with. They do a great job. They get orders out really quickly. They provide good customer service to everyone that buys it. And that way we don't have to so this Arran, for example, and we'll show you a picture of it in a second. There's 111 bottles globally of this. So if we went a traditional route to market, if people wanted it and they went to their local store, it would be highly unlikely that this specific bottle would be in their store. So what Mashville does is they buy all of the bottles that we ship we're willing to send to them, and they stock it so that people like you can go to one place and have access to all the bottles. Not that we don't sell bottles to traditional stores. We just sent a shipment out to what is it?
The whiskey shop.
The whiskey shop in San Francisco.
San Francisco,
Yeah, which is a great store. We're happy to have them as an account. But it just doesn't make business sense for all the bottles to be in all the stores. It can't happen logistically with this. Martin did us a big favor, and he sent us 36 into the US with us, which is about a third of the global outturn. It's a lot for such a rare cask.
So can someone post a link to the store that we would be using?
I'll do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, because that's why I was like, free shipping from where? Magic?
It's a Scotch Drinkers Only.
Scotch Drinkers
Sorry
Only.
if we didn't make that clear.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's
We're
real
happy
tough,
for-
you know.
Yeah.
I'll sign up.
Yeah. All right. All right. So we've got a fantastic is an understatement lineup. We're going to start with the Arran. The reason why we have the Arran first is it really is it's going to benefit from a little bit of time in the glass, and we knew that we would be talking a little bit, so we wanted you to get that in your glass. It's going to develop mango and papaya and all kinds of tropical notes, and it's really delicate. and it's not cask forward. So I think it's something really good to start off with. I know in a lot of tastings, people like to start with something that's less expensive or younger, lower proof. But
Nando's
yeah.
shaking his head.
Not this group.
So we wanted to start with this because you were going to hear us talk for a little bit, and we wanted you to start with that, and it's just a great dram.
And just to mention, Nando, as we've said before, has picked out an awesome lineup, and it probably, I don't know if it was intentional or not intentional, but we are literally covering every region of Scotland with this tasting. We're
It
in
was
the Highlands,
100% intentional.
the Speyside region, Isla, Lowlands, like we've got it all. So we're super excited.
Yeah. So we're gonna this is the order. I don't know, Nando, how you usually do it, but if people want to go out of order, do other things, that's fine. I mean, we want to have a good time. We want people to enjoy themselves.
Yeah, so we try not to take ourselves too seriously. I mean, we have an order for sure. We'll taste in that order, but obviously you guys have your own dram, so you do what you want to do. They're in your hands now, but we'll explain in the same order that we've set. But yeah, usually it makes sense to go in that order. And then we also have something we've never done ever. We have a cask we've never done or tasted before tonight. So that one I'm excited for, which is a few drams away. But this Arran, beautiful.
Yeah,
You're
we've
right. It does
never
need a
had
little.
a tasting start out with the 18-year Arran, I will say that.
Yeah, that's. It's actually I think the we did a 30 year
Oh wow.
spring break. We started with the spring break tasting, I think, with a 30 year.
Very nice.
Okay.
Their Cadenhead's blended Scotch. But anywho, Creetown, let's hear about it.
Creetown Distillers is an independent bottler. For those not familiar with independent bottler, I'm sure everyone knows about it, but we'll talk about it. What independent bottlers do is they source liquid from third parties. They're not distillers. And then they choose either to finish it, that liquid differently than how it may have came from the distiller, or in a number of cases with more disciplined independent bottlers, they just leave it alone if something's really good. This one, I think, is an example. It's Sherry Hogshead #2, and Martin decided to leave it alone. A lot of people may be familiar with some other labels of WhiskyBroker. We find that. So, for instance, this is a WhiskyBroker labeling of a Mortlock 17-year. It looked like it was on an inkjet printer. But it's really good liquid. But since we're limited,
I actually meant to go grab a WhiskyBroker bottle. So
Yeah, so if we're mentioning women in whiskey, I think it was Martin's wife Jane who was like, "We need to smarten up the labels here."
Yeah. So they look really posh now because of Jane. We're told when we met with them it was a £250,000 machine or something that it takes to produce these labels. Yeah. But the liquid inside, I think, is actually better looking than the label.
Whether it's under WhiskyBroker or Creetown, the liquid inside is amazing. Martin has been he practically grew up a distillery. His family owned Bladnoch Distillery in the lowlands of Scotland. So he was.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so
That's a
he's
new
been
fact
in that distillery since he's about probably 12 years old.
I would say younger, probably.
Yeah, maybe younger. We've met with Martin a number of times. He's an amazing guy. He just has like so much going on. Brilliant. Like
he's a genius.
Like if you see these pictures here, he designed this whole cask racking system. You will not see this anywhere else in Scotland. This was designed by Martin here.
He's also an engineer.
Yeah. So he's got about, I think about 40,000 casks in his bond over there.
Yeah, that looks like something you'd see more in like Kentucky,
Yeah.
Interesting. One quick thing, just Melissa Howard, again, I'm just still trying to get a handle on things. So is Scotch Drinkers Only anywhere on the label of any of these bottles, like on the back or anything, or no?
So for import, on the back, we have a business name that we have, which is Sachs Dynamic Operations. That's what we registered on with the TTB. Later today, we do have one label that says Scotch Drinkers Only that you'll be drinking. This was an octave pick we did. That's pretty awesome from Lady the Glen. But that's the only label today that has Scotch Drinkers Only on it.
So right now, most of the stuff we bring in, we're importing for these brands.
Mhm.
So it's under our import company, which is Saks Dynamic Operations.
So the SDO is the same, at least. So you
Exactly, SDO. So my husband came up with Saks Dynamic Operations. I was like, I don't know if I like that. I'm gonna come up with Scotch Drinkers Only because I think that's a little
got it.
better.
User friendly.
Yeah.
And it also looks like, for the most part, most of the stuff or all the stuff you pick does seem like it's from independent bottlers for the most part, or what?
We have 3 accounts that are independent bottlers, and then on this tasting, we have Holyrood Distillery. We're the U.S. importer for Holyrood Distillery, which is a fantastic distillery in Edinburgh. And then we haven't announced this publicly, but we have 2 distilleries in Scotland that will also be importing pretty soon that have really interesting stuff.
Okay, cool. So a mix. All right, cool. All right, thank you.
We can talk more about that after we cut the recording.
So a little bit more about the Arran Distillery. So this, as Howard I think mentioned, this is one of 111 bottles. So this is pretty rare. There's not a lot of this around the entire world. This was bottled at cask strength at 54.6%. Per Scotland, this is a pretty new distillery. It was founded and built in 1995. A lot of the distilleries in Scotland can trace their roots back to the 1700s, so it's pretty new. We're pretty excited about it. Something interesting about the Arran Distillery, when they were founded, and I'm a finance person, and I don't know how many of you are from Nando's original group here, but they financed the distillery through founders bonds. But instead of just paying interest and principal back on the bonds, they did something a little more interesting. They said, if you invest in our company and you believe in us, we're going to give you, for only 450 Great British pounds, 10 cases of Arran whiskey. So let's do some quick math here. That's less than 10 British pounds a bottle. So that sounds like pretty good math to me.
Did that include duty?
6 bottles per case, right?
Yeah, 6 bottles per case. I think I'm doing that right. Right?
Yeah, that's less than 10. That's nothing.
That $10, less than
Like
10
$8.
pounds a bottle.
8
Yeah.
something.
So that is how they finance their initial, build out of the distillery. Pretty amazing. So other interesting facts about them are this bottle says Arran Distillery, which is how they still market themselves, but in recent years, they built another distillery in the south of Arran, which I'm sure maybe you're familiar with, Lag Distillery.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 2 distilleries. They're both owned by the same parent company there now. So this official name of the Arran Distillery is Laccaranza now. There you go. Lag. Of course, Nando would have that. So.
So are people enjoying the Arran so far?
Delicious.
Yeah.
Very nice mouthfeel.
It's surprisingly, I thought, I mean, I know what the ABV is, but spicy for something 18 years old. I expected maybe something a little bit more mellow after that much time in the wood, but I kind of like it. It to me, it drinks like something a lot younger.
I could see that. There's a lot of vibrancy with it.
Yeah.
It's 54.6%, and it's at natural cask strength, non-chill filtered, no color added. You can tell it's no color added. None of the stuff we import.
Nothing we'll
has
be drinking tonight
color.
is
Yep.
color added or chill filtered.
We don't do anything that's chill filtered or color added. So
Okay.
that is why you are here. Or part of the reason. So this has a huge stone fruit note for me that a lot of that Arran gets out. But you have to have it. It opens up over time in the glass. So for sure.
For sure.
Good. And then there's a light, for me, like a light, like citrus note to this in the mid palate as well. It's really nice. I like this. This is a great starter for this. And I should have said this before, but you guys do not have to drink the full 1 ounce sample. You can do what you want to do, but everything tonight, I believe, is cask strength except for Holyrood, right?
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
so higher ABV, not as high as our stag tasting we just did, but still pretty high ABV. So
Yeah. For
Wait,
this,
that's not a requirement, Fernando. I thought we had to drink all of everything.
absolutely, you can for sure.
It's just for you, Jason. Just for you.
Sweet. Thanks.
After you didn't get a michelada at lunch today, you got to, you know?
yeah, I could see the stone fruits in there. I get a lot of sugar too on the mid palate,
Mm.
Mando, like candy almost, like a Smartie candy. I don't know
Mm.
if you know that.
Interesting because it's less sweet than I expected, though,
Yeah,
for that. It's interesting. Like,
it's good.
This is a good reminder of why I love Arran. Like I really got into Arran a while ago, and then like I moved on to other stuff, and now this reminds me why I liked it so much. Really, really nice. And I agree, it's sweet. To me, it's kind of both stone fruit and sugar because it's like a canned peach with the syrup. But yeah, really nice.
There is a
Yeah,
little so I guess spice or something that keeps tingling the back of my tongue on this toward on the finish though. I don't get it anywhere else but on the finish.
that's why I said it's a spicy start.
I find Arran so interesting. Like their OBs are nothing like this, right? The Arran IBs tend to be just so much more interesting than the kind of the official distillery bottlings. This is really nice.
yeah.
Really? I loved the Arran tasting we did. All the bottlings I thought we had were awesome. The Smuggler series was a lot of fun for me. Thought those were really good.
The Smuggler series is the absolute best Arran I've ever had, but like you don't find anything at all like that.
Yeah.
And none of their OBs they produce today are anything like that.
Mm.
I've been paying through the nose for Smuggler series.
Is everyone based in California or where are people?
No, most of us are in California.
Okay.
Eladio's in Texas. Who else is on here?
Okay, we're going to be in Texas soon. We're working on that. It's awesome.
Do you ship to Washington?
Oh,
That's
and Kevin's in Washington. What am I talking
We
about?
do. We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we ship to the
State, right?
Yeah.
Washington State.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, our retail partner ships to 46 states and DC. So
Yeah, they ship to
Sure.
Texas too, but we have a deal with RNDC for some of the products to get into the stores there as well.
And one of our normal members, Beth, who is not on tonight because she has date night tonight. She's in the East Coast. Where's she at? She's at Delaware? I think she's in Delaware.
okay, that's
Yeah.
I want to say that's close to me because I still remember that I live in Pennsylvania, but then I have to remember that I moved to Florida.
Yeah.
So this if we had any New Yorkers, I was gonna say this one is at the Brandy Library, which is the best place for
Love
whiskey.
Randy Library.
Yeah. So Flavian's awesome. He supports us. Great guy. Yeah.
Yeah, they set me up well the last time I went in there, so that was fun. Anyone else on number one, or should we move to two?
If people have an extra glass, they could leave it in the glass, and we can get number two in.
going.
Yeah, I'd recommend.
Extra glass. Come on.
We've got a few glasses around here.
I'm sure you have more than one.
I have more glasses than I actually want in my house. That's a personal problem, but
Yeah, I love glasses. So I wanted to share with everyone just the scale of WhiskyBroker, how massive it is and all the warehouse space. This was a drone shot we did when we were out in 2023, and we were looking at it before this call, and I think he's built 2 more buildings since 2023, and he's working on a visitor center, Martin, that is. But it's an incredible site, and if we have time later today, I have drone cameras. You can see just how close he is to the water, and I think the cast really do benefit from his warehouse because there's Speyside whiskeys sometimes we get from there that have like a maritime and a salinity that you just don't get from stuff that's stored in Speyside.
You will see
Yeah.
he's like very like from his warehouse where Howard's looking over to the drone, we're there and we can see the sea from his where if we do the video, we'll see it, but it's a spectacular sight. So this is kicking it off again. We've got another 18-year, because why not?
Exactly.
this
You only
is
live
a
once.
Tullabardine.
Ooh. The nose.
This one,
I get coconut cream pie on that nose right off the bat.
very nice. What do you want a glass?
That's-
So this one, again, this is for Martin at WhiskyBroker. This is his more posh label, Creetown Distillers. He's just put it out about a year ago. So this one is bottled at 56.6, another cast strength bottling, 113 bottles worldwide for this one. This is in a bourbon barrel. Because the thing about Martin is he has, I think we mentioned, he has about 35,000 casts in his warehouse. So if he pulls something out and he doesn't think it's good, he doesn't bottle it.
He has no need to. His primary business is warehousing.
So yeah. He only bottles stuff that he thinks is exceptional and he wants to stamp his name on. So this one he didn't think needed any finishing, anything other than the bourbon barrel was in. And personally, I think this was Howard's
This was my favorite of the
favorite. Yeah.
shipment. Yeah. When we got the shipment in, we went to the warehouse where it was received. We got these samples out and we lined up about a dozen bottles. This was just an exceptional bottling that I was really thrilled with, because when we buy them, we don't, these are so rare. We get the lists from the supplier and we have to decide sometimes, like within 10 minutes if we're going to buy something. And as Melissa is a good accountant, she likes to do a little analysis. But I know if we let something like this go, it's going to be gone. It's going to all end up in China or somewhere else. So we put that order in, and then when we arrange the shipment, finally it comes in, and you're like, oh yeah, this was good, and we're just super happy with all the flavors that we get with this one. I hope everyone on the call is enjoying it as well.
This is the best Tullabardine I've ever had. So
Yay!
for sure.
And how many Tullabardines have you had, Nando?
Probably 10 or less, but still.
That's a good amount.
Yeah, mostly in IBs, but this is really good. What I really enjoy about this, there's like a hay note on here a little bit. Like there's like a maybe like or hay or barley note on it. Like there's a cereal note to it that like completes this for me. Like usually that's hidden a lot of the times, and I actually really like that. So
yeah, I'm getting a little hazelnut today on the nose, which I don't think I had previously in my notes. We're sharing some more pictures from Martin's warehouse. You can see on the left-hand side some of the Bladnock, because he stores for a number of distilleries, including Bladnock. Melissa happened to spot a Caol from 1981 while wandering around his warehouse, so I put that in there as just an example of the crazy
stuff he's got.
He happens to have. We do not have any 1981 Caol. I don't have any knowledge of when that will be bottled.
You could be like what's the Compass Box? So they used to use their 1981 Caol in all their blends, like when they wanted an old.
Yeah. I hope that is not blended.
Yeah.
Do you know how many casks that he has altogether?
I think he has, but the last time we were there, which is 2 warehouses ago, was about 35,000 casks. And he's built 2 more warehouses. Howard's actually heading over there in about 6 days. Nice. So he probably has almost doubled what he had there last time we were there about a year ago.
That's wild.
Yeah.
How accurate is the stock remaining at retailer on the slides and the website?
That's pretty accurate. We pulled that today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. So this is an aerial shot of Tullabardine. It's right next to a highway.
I think it's the A9. If anyone's ever been to Scotland, if you're in Perth and I think if you're Stirling and Perth, it's about halfway in between on that major highway there. It's a beautiful site.
I'm going to be hitting Stirling in October, November. So
very nice. Okay. Yeah, I recommend a stop if you have time.
Yeah. I was actually at the distillery 3 years ago, maybe. I also stopped there for a little bit, did the tour. and have a couple of Tullabardines. I just side by sided it with a couple of OBs, but this is way better.
Oh yeah,
Awesome. Yeah.
glad to hear it. It's an interesting story. It's went through hands a couple times. I think they're owned now by a French company that has been they're putting a lot of work into the wood for the OB bottlings where they'll have interesting wine and other types of casks. But I like to make the joke that sometimes it's better to just have whiskey flavored whiskey.
Mm.
And the stuff in the bourbon barrel, it just works. It's natural, and there's a reason why they've been doing it this way for a while.
Yeah, so
You'd say that right before we get into the finished whiskeys, but yeah.
Yeah, so Tullabardine, the distillery itself wasn't established officially until 1949, which I know we said Arran was 1995, which is new, but 1949 for Scotland is pretty new too.
Relatively
When you
new.
think back to like Glenturd and Glenlivet and some of those. But the interesting thing about this site is before they made whiskey, they had a lot of ties to the brewing industry. So back in 1488, they got the first official royal charter from King James IV of Scotland. They were brewing whiskey on the site of the Tullabardine distillery. So he came through after his coronation. He was, celebrating and going around Scotland, and they had a brewery there, and he stopped in and he loved what he was tasting, and he said, "This is great. I want to bring it back with me to the castle." And a few months later, he got the royal charter issued to the brewery on the site. So there's a lot of ties back before they were distilling to brewing. So we thought that was like an interesting fact. They were actually shut down for a number of years. They were bought by White and Mackay in 1994. I'm not sure why White and Mackay bought them because apparently a few months after they bought them, they shut them down. So they weren't producing for about 10 years until 2003 when they were resurrected. They were brought back by a new firm in France. And that's when they were kind of got into really establishing this brand and bringing back the single malts. For many years, since they were established in 1949, they were focused on blends. A lot of their stuff went in the blends. We love blends. No, no shame against blends, but they weren't concentrating on their single malt. They weren't marketing what was coming out of the stills in Tullabardine. So we're excited now. This company in France, Picard, Vins, and Rideau, they own Tullabardine, and they're concentrating more on the single malts rather than dumping it into the blends that are going around the world. So when they inherited it, what we're hearing is a lot of the old Tullabardine was just in very old and tired, worn cask. It wasn't very good. Right? So they invested a lot of money in the wood in the cask program, and I think they're headed in the right direction. We're excited for what they're doing, and independent bottlers like Creetown are taking this and they're putting their own spin on it and trying to bring it to whiskey enthusiasts like you and introduce them to what the spirit really is independently, not in a blend.
Yeah, I think it's really high quality liquid just in general from Tullabardine, and hopefully Martin's got some more of these in that warehouse to bottle over the coming years. Any notes, or you want to move on to Lady of the Glen?
Yeah, 1 second. Let me introduce someone real quick that just landed over here. Andrew, you want to come over and say hi to everyone real quick?
Sure.
I think some of the people here know Andrew Moldenhauer, who used to work with Remy, and he's been on quite a few of our tastings. He flew in for this weekend. We're doing my birthday activities tomorrow, so he's gonna.
Nice to meet you, Andrew.
Brought some Black Art version 2 to share, and just a couple of good drams along the way.
Yeah, so he's gonna join this tasting now. A little late.
Cheers.
Well, I'm sure Nando can catch you up with the first two.
He already got the earful on what we've tried. So yeah, that Tullabardine is really good. I really enjoyed that. I might even say I like that more than the Embra, and that's that was going to be a tough sell for me. When we did this lineup, I was like, let's do the Tullabardine first because I was going to like the Arran more, but that's close. Yeah.
Can you guys, Melissa and Howard, talk about a little like what are you looking for when you pick these casks? Like, is there any particular flavor profile you look for or don't look for, or unique notes and stuff?
So we're looking at it a lot of times on paper, and from Mark, we don't even get tasting notes sometimes. It may not sound sexy. So we're looking to say, as accountants, because we trust that every bottle is going to be delicious.
We bring in, we trust them.
Yeah.
We know that everything they bottle is going to be exceptional.
Yeah,
we wouldn't bring them in if we didn't have trust in them.
So as an accountant, we look at it and say, well, what are other comparable ones going for? And can we bring this in at a price where we think we can deliver value for what people are getting, knowing that we're going to have exceptional liquid that's going to taste delicious. We wouldn't expect anything less. And so that's when we look at, we don't want to bring in a cask type that we see already on the market, especially if we think it's comparable in price. We want to bring in stuff single barrel, cask strength if we can. I don't like anyone to add water to the whiskey except for me. And
cheers to that.
That's what we're looking for.
Love it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Agreed, Raj, that there is that shortbread finish. I 100% agreed on that.
Yeah.
Lady of the Glen. I'm actually really excited for this one. I've been wanting to try Lady of the Glen for a long time. There's been a couple times where I've almost bought a few bottles overseas, but the shipping always sucks. So
no, free shipping.
Shipping. No need to pay that $70 shipping.
Previously, before you guys started importing them. So
Yes.
before you started importing them, not now.
Yes.
And Leo, who buys from you guys quite a bit, has said quite a lot about this bottle. So he's not on here. I tried getting it, but he's got
Leo likes this one. I will say Leo likes this one.
Yeah, he has a lot of kid responsibilities tonight. So so I'm excited to try this. Let's get into it.
Yeah. So we love Lady of the Glen. We'll talk a little bit about Lady of the Glen, and we'll talk a little bit about this specific. So this we were asked actually by Scottish Enterprise, which is their government organization, to bring Lady of the Glen
into the
US. And we looked at it. We said, that's crazy that these people are not imported into the US. And we spoke with their owner, Gregor Hanna. We looked at the awards that he won. And we looked at the bottlings, the ratings that he had, and what he was doing. And we made a contract. We brought him in to the US. What I think makes him really special versus a lot of other independent bottlers, and I know we just talked about Martin's Warehouse, but Gregor invested in a warehouse space for himself and his firm so that he could have access and closely monitor all of the casks that he has. It's not the kind of thing where with some people they're just putting their label on things that they're bottling. He's selecting liquid, he's selecting casks, and he's marrying the two, and he's doing monitoring to make sure that things are bottled when they're ready to be bottled. And we love that. This particular one, and the first three that we have were not cask finished. This is a wine cask, but it was not cask finished. They bought Lady of the Glen bulk whiskey from Diageo. It came in a bunch of hogsheads and other
I think
barrels.
they probably bought 6 casks. That's standard over, and they buy 6 casks from the big guys like Diageo and Chevis. And this one that came in, he had 5 in like a standard bourbon cask. And this one that came in, they got it and they were like, this is odd. This isn't a red wine cask. And they're like, maybe we should try this and see how it is. And him and Paul, as they told us when we were over in their warehouse, they're like, we tried it and it was amazing. We didn't need to do anything with it. Like, it was just ready to go. So they're super excited for it. We were super excited to bring this in. It's a 10-year Blair Athol, cask strength, single bottling, single cask, everything from the Lady of the Glen label, we'll just point out, is single bottle, single cask. This is all these guys do.
Cast strength.
Cast strength. I think
So
this
Lady of the Glen is another independent bottler like Creetown.
yes. Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the top of the line for Hanna Whiskey Merchants, who's the parent company.
Okay.
Gregor Hanna owns it. A feature that I like to add is the capsules, which is this black part up top, are anti-counterfeit. So he's got a design. A number of capsules are just standard black. And so I think, if as an accountant, I kind of like that it could potentially store some value for you if you were to buy a bunch of them and then maybe put it to auction, because you'll know that this has not been filled up, that it's got its original capsule. And that's an attention to detail that he has that I do really like on there, which is pretty
I've never really thought about that.
interesting. Yeah.
What makes it anti-counterfeit? Just the
Because
design?
other independent bottlers don't do the custom capsule, which is that part at the top, the black part with the flower. Yeah, it's standard off the shelf. And so this is something that's been custom made. And so it makes it harder because in order to counterfeit and refill it with something else, you would have to have that top capsule, the black part with the flower made. And it's just like that extra touch. And it also comes in there. It comes in tubes. So it protects it from light, and it helps to store if you were to buy some and put them away. I as an enthusiast, sometimes I'll put stuff away for a little bit of time, and so they're just extra touches that he has on this as a top of the line independent bottler.
So this was fully aged. They padded 10 years in this red wine barrique.
Yes. Yeah. And it was random. They bought it from Diageo bulk, and it just came like that. We get there's some really interesting notes in that we get, and the bottlers also got Paul and Gregor. We get they've noted on here Parmesan cheese. I get Parma ham too, like that. There's a saltiness and a bit of
I can see that.
Yeah,
Hammy for sure.
Yeah, it's delicious and unusual, and that's what the benefit of a single cask. If you're in a big entity like Diageo and you're doing millions of liters and you're doing hundreds of thousands of bottles, the variation that you might get from something like this isn't helpful when you're trying to have something constant. But as an independent bottler, they're able to lean in and really celebrate it. And so we were super excited when we got this. We tasted, because this was another example of one where we bought just based on the metrics of it. But when we got it just was phenomenal. I said maybe we should have bought more when we finally received it.
Yeah, this is so different than what we've been drinking.
It is, yeah.
That is, I don't even think I was prepared for how different that was going to be.
It's
even
more
though
on the
Leo told me
nose,
this is
right?
pretty funky.
It's more on the nose though, on the palate though, right? Or
Oh,
I
get
think
it on the
so.
palate,
I
too.
definitely
Like,
think
this
the
is-
nose is a little more funky. The palate I love. Yeah.
I like the nose though.
I don't know. I was almost getting banana. It's like,
Okay, I
Yeah.
can see that.
Oh, I could see that. There's
Yeah.
like that waxy,
yeah.
that banana wax
Yes.
quality to it for sure.
This is delicious, though. I think
Awesome.
probably the highlight so far for me.
Me out there, but I got bubble gum on the
Okay.
nose, by the way.
well, there's a faint undertone of it underneath, like the cheese and ham.
So
Or
bubblegum, cheese, and ham. Got it, Dino. That's
It's
great.
cheese and ham bubble gum.
It's like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You get the full meal. in a
Some
fruit
cheese
bowl.
and ham. That's the odd combination.
Hey, Veruca Salt's joining the tasting here real soon.
Yeah, this one we did send this into Whiskey Advocate, so we're hoping in the
Hopefully in
the
their
spring,
next
yeah.
issue, this one will be
Yeah.
featured in there. So
Definitely the nose is definitely, kind of nice and funky for sure.
yeah, just a little bit about Blair Athol. This distillery, it's compared to the first two we talked about. This one's pretty old. This one was established in 1798, and it's in the Highlands. It's really accessible off the A9. very easy to get to, whereas Arran and some of the others, you got to take a boat there. It's just a little bit hard to get there. This one's pretty easy to access. If you happen to get over to Scotland, this one has an amazing bar. They've got like an old mash tune that they pulled out of the distillery, and it's in their visitor center, which they've turned into a bar, which is just fantastic looking. And they have all of these specialty releases from Diageo. So not only from Blair Athol, but from all the others like Oban and Kalila.
Klein
Like,
Leash.
yeah, like everything up
that's my
there.
jam.
And then they've got special bottling. So it's just a really fun place to visit.
Beautiful site.
It's also a beautiful site. Like you park in your parking lot and you're kind of like wandering around. You're like, this doesn't look, it just kind of looks, you're just pulling up, and then like suddenly you're walking through like beautiful hanging baskets of flowers and weeping willows, and you're walking over a bridge to the distillery tasting room, and it's like, wow, this is pretty nice. So yeah, we're definitely recommend to stop there. It's a really easy one to visit if you're in Scotland. It does not require a boat ride or anything like that. So,
and I haven't had a lot of Blair Athol, so this is fun. All the Blair Athol I've had, I think, has all been sherried Blair Athol. So this is a really fun dram. I mean, this is like totally different than what I was maybe.
It's probably one of the better Blair Athols I've had yet, for sure.
Yeah. And it's like a good funk. Like, it's kind of interesting when you tell people funky and then people are like, I don't want to try that. But this is like a good funky.
Yeah, I think I saw Leo's comment, but I think he meant it definitely in a compliment because he ordered it, so he definitely liked it. But when you say that, people are like, yeah, I don't know, but it's a good funk for sure.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of the our agave tasting a couple years ago, just not to the same degree. We did a Racia that had this like crazy blue cheese note on it and like a few other things.
Yeah, but nowhere near that level.
No. Yeah, for sure. 100% agreed. But like, I think the only other experience in a tasting where I was like, whoa, this is like totally funky and different. I think that's the only other time I can point to. So what I'm trying to say is I think this is really fun to do this and have that experience with it for me.
Awesome. Yeah. Should we move on to the next one?
Let's do it. And this is the one I was alluding to earlier.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so this one is definitely a bit special. So this is from Dram, which is another independent bottler from Scotland. So this is Kenny and Vic McDonald. This is from Benrinnes Distillery. It's a 12-year from that distillery. And this is the first, from our understanding, from what Vic and Kenny have told us, this is the first whiskey ever aged and finished in a Rancio sec cask. So a lot of people are probably like, what's Rancio sec? I've never heard of that. So Rancio sec is a dry wine from the northern part of France. It kind of borders Spain, close to Catalonia, and it traces its origins back to the Roman times. So when we taste it, it's compared to sherry. So it's compared to a Fino sherry because it's very dry, but it's also compared to Oloroso for the notes you get in the palate from it. So we'd like to hear what everyone else thinks of it, but it's the first whiskey ever barreled in this type of cask.
It's a lot of vanilla custard on the nose. It's delightful on the nose so far.
And this wine, it's, as I mentioned, it goes back to Roman times. I think in like the 1990s, the French government or French citizens protested to the French government that this wine needed protection because it's like a horticultural value and things like that. So a few years ago, they actually got protection from the French government. So they're protected now as a small region in France producing this wine. It's a little bit interesting.
Really,
That That's delicious.
I get a lot of
Yeah.
buttery notes in the nose on this.
Very sweet.
I'm assuming there's probably just because it's called Rancio, it's supposed to be probably a bit more like umami and, like you said, buttery and those kinds of notes.
I'm getting sweet on the palate though.
I also
definitely
like the
gets
color of
that.
this. It's kind of got like a little rosé coloring to it.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I get milk chocolate on the finish. Like it's coated. My
This
palate.
one definitely seems to have a higher viscosity, I think, than the other ones. Like, I think I'm getting more mouthfeel coating and like maybe more lipids on it, which is kind of nice. I like that. Makes it a little softer.
It's fun. We did a tasting that was all Dram with a club in Jacksonville, Florida, just a little north of here. And the guy that ran the club didn't want to touch
He didn't want this one in
the
this
wine
tasting.
cask. A lot of times wine casks are overdone, but I think Dram does a really good job of putting stuff in, monitoring it, and then getting it in the bottle, so it's not overly
I'm
done.
not paying attention. You're just gonna walk by.
That's a
So
really
I think
nice.
what Howard was getting at was he didn't think he would like the wine cask finish one, but at the end of the tasting,
This was what he bought.
he ordered
Yeah.
3 bottles of this because he thought it was
Wow, maybe I'm full of crap, but you can really smell the grape on this. The whatever the grape they used to make this wine, you can. I would like to actually smell what the grape that they used to make this.
Yeah, sometimes that is fun. I like for the sherry, sometimes I'll have the sherry finished scotch and then
next
I'll
to
pour a
the
glass of sherry,
scotch.
whether it's
Yeah.
Palo Cortado, Oloroso, or Palo Cortado,
Pinot.
yeah.
Is Rancio saying is it a white wine?
I do not think it's a white wine. I think it's a red wine. It's similar to like a sherry wine from Spain, but it's
it.
distilled in France, like right on the border with Spain. So it's close to Catalonia, right on that region with like the
Yeah.
Basque region, that border right
Yeah.
there.
I know that region well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I partied there in my 20s once.
It's actually a combination of white and red, and they use an oxidative aging process for it. It's interesting.
Because it kind of has some of those like white wine notes, like it's like buttery and got like there's a vibrancy to it. So I don't know. That's why I was asking that question.
Yeah.
Thank you for whoever chimed in.
Did you talk about the Benrinnes distillery at all?
Yeah, so the distillery itself, it's a Speyside distillery. It's kind of one of those Diageo giants. Apparently, when I was doing some research today, it's like National Ben Day. So I said my favorite Ben is Benrinnes. They're located right outside Aberlour. I don't know if anyone's ever been to Scotland, but Aberlour is a plethora of amazing distilleries, mentioning Aberlour, Glenlivet, Glenfarclas, Tormore, Glenfarclas.
They've also got a great cafe in town. Really good.
The Mash Tune.
Yep.
Yes, we've been there. So.
I think they have worm tubs as the
Yeah, I
condensers,
think they
too.
do.
It's one of the few
They do
Diageo.
still use the worm tubs at Benrinnes as well.
It's old
So,
school. So people do seek that out, even though it's considered a packer distillery.
yeah,
that does
most of
mass
it ends
production.
up in the Johnny Walker blends, but independent bottlers like Dremore will get their hands on it and do fabulous things, and we're excited to share it.
And I think these are the last ones we have in the country. We've sold through. I don't think any other
No, those are the
retailers
last
have it.
ones. So
You
We don't
left.
even have any sample bottles.
yeah,
This was all that
This
was
is-
left of our Benrinnes from them.
Mm.
Oh,
Do you know, like, so the choice of the Rancio Sec, since no one had ever done it before, was there any info on kind of like why or how that sort of like ended up happening, or it was just, yeah, why not?
I think they're a little adventurous. Kenny and Vic. Kenny's definitely like a trailblazer. Like he's willing to go out there and try new things and see if it works. And maybe if it didn't work, he wouldn't put his name on it and bottle it. He'd
Sell to
you know
someone
he'd
else.
sell
Yeah.
it to someone else, but this one worked and he was excited to put it out there. So that's kind of what all indies do. I think they like the
Mm.
experimentation and doing new things versus the same standard that everyone
Yeah, if
kind of
everyone
put
bought
out
the
there.
same liquid from Diageo and just
Put
put
it
a
in a
different
bourbon
label,
barrel.
yeah, it would be boring.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, to your point, Raj, 2 of the 3 grapes I guess they use for this are white grapes, so might be a way of getting that. So
I
definitely,
have to give some credit to the bottlers and also for you guys for importing this. The 3 distilleries that I maybe don't have a whole lot of, and it's rare that I have distilleries that I haven't had a lot of exposure to, but the 3 I don't have a ton with the last 3 we just tried are all stellar drams, like really good.
Yeah.
It makes me question myself, why haven't I gotten into more of these now, maybe, but
well, probably because honestly, you got to find good independent bottlings of it because the standard stuff isn't, and that's what these are, right? That's why we're doing this tasting.
It's super disappointing that there's no more of this because honestly, everything that we've had tonight, I've really enjoyed, but this is exceptional. I really love this bottle. It was great.
there's
Yeah.
2 bottles left.
There's 2 left.
There's 2 left, Jason, on the website.
I want it. I'm gonna get it right now.
You better order it fast. Lickety clickety.
Melissa told me not to be too salesy on the call. But
I gotta say, I definitely do appreciate and like again, for me, one thing I've noticed I've kind of looked for is a good kind of coating, soft, high viscosity mouthfeel. And of the last 3 or even the first 4 that we've had, like this one has the best in that category of all of them so far. So I'm kind of really liking that. Along with all the other flavors that are interesting from it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad everyone's enjoying everything. This is why
It's our goal.
we do our business. We run our business. So
Yeah.
excited
And
to
you have stuff that
you
sells
guys.
themselves, so you don't have to be too salesy. That's good.
Should we go to Holyrood or more talk on the Dramore?
I kind of want to just love this for a little bit longer, but
Okay.
yeah, we can move
Oh,
on.
we can hold it here.
I'm joking. We can move on because I'm going to turn off the recording here soon. So let's do one more and then I'll do that.
Okay. So we have a special message from the
Master Distiller in Holyrood.
yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Caol, the distillery manager here at Holyrood Distillery, and I just wanted to send a little video saying thank you for including Embra, our second release on the lineup for your execs whiskey club tasting. We're delighted to see that we're over in the States now, so hopefully you lovely people enjoy it, and it's great to see that we're amongst so many good whiskies as well. Embra is a whiskey that's close to my heart. I designed this so that it could be a very approachable whiskey, and we like to think of it as the gateway to peat. If you're a fan of peated whiskey and you want to share that passion with somebody else, but they tell you, I'm not usually a fan of smoky things, or no, I don't do peat, then we like to think Embra would be the one to bring them along. So please enjoy the tasting, drink responsibly, and have a good time.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Love that. You got to send me that video.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love Holyrood Distillery. We had been working on Holyrood even before they released the single malt.
When they were still in their new make, Howard was on their trail about getting them in the States.
Yeah. So what I think makes Holyrood really special and different from any other distillery in Scotland is that they incorporate mash bills. That might be something you're used to
Really?
for
Bourbon.
distilleries in the US, like that are doing bourbon or whiskey, American single malt. But it's unusual that a Scottish distillery that's doing single malts would incorporate the concept of mash bills where they have artisan malts. So this Embra is not just distiller's malt. There's chocolate malt in here, and in a number of their releases, they'll use crystal malt and caramel malt and all types of different malted barley, not just one commodity grain, but they'll use that super premium malt that a lot of times would go into beer but they'll distill it. And so even the new make, and we have some new make from them, but even the new make that they produce is super flavorful coming off the still because of the quality of the malt. This has been aged for over 3 years, so it is a whiskey, but they don't have to rely on wood. The wood is like a flavor element that complements it, but it isn't something that they have to rely on like other distilleries. And you know, when we take it's a delightful dram because of all the notes that you get, and it's very distinctive.
So when you talk about mash bills, it's basically we're still talking single malt.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
single
still a single
distillery,
malt. Yep, because it's still from
100% malt,
Yep.
and
Yep.
from a single distillery.
But what they're doing, but I guess to that point, and what I'm trying to nail down is that what I'm trying to figure out is there that much variation in other distilleries that do single malts such that having a mash bill would matter, or is that something that's more unique to Holyrood and that's why they do it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so the mash bill really does matter. So we have, and one thing that Holyrood is doing that I love is that they're not doing like old, this is our 10 year and this is our 12 year and this is our 18 year. They're doing thematic flagship releases. And so this is flagship number 2, Embra, what you're tasting. And it's peated and delicious. But flagship number 3 is Amber, unpeated, but completely different character, completely different flavor. This is like very sweet, like candies, like what are those Halloween candies, like the candy corn. But like and not because of the cask that it was in, although I think this was in 3 casks.
Yeah, this was a double cask.
Double
This
cask,
was a
okay.
double cask.
Yeah, but because of the mash, and so if you have that, and we've got Arrival, which is unpeated, which was the first flagship. Those of you on the mailing list may have been able to get one of these. It's just different flavors because of that, and not because of the age. But I think largely because of the mash bill. If anyone has ever had the Signet from Glenmorangie, where they use that chocolate malt, you've experienced the complete differences of flavor.
Or if you've had Westland, so they also do a lot of chocolate malting. So.
Yeah.
But it just a lot of mouthfeel on it.
No, that's interesting. If you go to the website, I guess not only apparently is it just the malt because it says it's 41% distilling malt, 3% chocolate malt, 56 heavily peated malt.
Yeah.
But then apparently there's something about different yeasts.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yes,
They experiment with yeasts also.
So their whole mantra is they're doing things differently. So they experiment with a lot of different heritage malts and then the yeast as well. So they do a lot of things that maybe are unusual for a distillery, but things you would expect in a brewery where they're playing with the different yeasts and the different malt strains. And as Howard alluded to, we've tried their new make spirits, which are
straight off the still.
Straight off the still. It can't be classified as whiskey. And we've tried probably 6 of them, of their different varieties, and they all have different amazing flavors. So we're super excited for what they're doing with single malts.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Apparently it's matured also in multiple casks too.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Huh.
Yeah,
This one we're trying here is a triple cask maturation, actually. So it's a first fill bourbon, a peated Islay quarter cask, and then an American new oak cask.
Wow. I think you can actually weird. Is that the chocolate malt, even though it's only 3% that I'm tasting? There's something on the
I honestly think you can taste it, even
I
though
feel like you can taste it because I
Yeah.
immediately when we tried this, I was like, there's a chocolate malt element to this.
Which is I wish I had known that before I tasted it. I'm wondering if I would have came up with it, but like on that finish, I'm just like, wow, that's
Yeah. It's like a recipe. Like when you're making like chocolate chip cookies, it's not 100%. Like you have different things in your recipe. So it doesn't need to be a majority of it for it to really contribute to flavor. And you can see that. Yep.
This might be my favorite one so far.
I'm
Wow,
glad to hear that.
yay.
One's really good, for sure. Agreed.
Mainly
Yeah.
because it's so surprising and interesting and especially detailed, which I appreciate.
Yeah, we're really excited there, and they have an awesome location.
Yeah.
This Dram name is called Embra. So I don't know if anyone's been to Edinburgh, but kind of a slang name for Edinburgh is Embra. I don't know if anyone got that, but
Hmm.
they're right off the Royal Mile. If Holyrood, obviously, the palace down there, they're a couple blocks from there. If you go into their distillery, they have an amazing tasting room and bar.
Yeah.
They have a beautiful view of Arthur's Seat, which is the mountain that you can hike up in downtown Edinburgh. So definitely recommend stopping by if you're ever in Edinburgh, Scotland.
I do have one insider tip,
Oh yeah,
which
this
is
is Howard's pro tip.
one of the best bars in the world is the Tipsy Midgie. And it's maybe 300 feet from the distillery. So I highly recommend visiting Edinburgh, of course, and then
Going to
going to
Holyrood.
Holyrood. But make sure when you book that it's a day that the Tipsy Midgie is open. So that you can, it's not open all the days of the week, and as accountants, there's certain days they run specials, and so you owe it to yourself if you're a whiskey enthusiast to
Stop
go
by
there.
this bar. And Colin, the owner's awesome guy. Tell him we sent you. Tell Holyrood we sent you. Really great places to in Edinburgh.
Yeah, I didn't spend much time at the bars in Edinburgh. I did in Glasgow, so I spent a lot of time at the Bonnet Court back with Paul when he was there before he passed. So that was my
Bonnet
bar recognition.
Bonnet Court's a great place. Potstill, of course. There's
no shortage of good bars.
Ben Nevis Bar, a lot of great places in Glasgow for sure.
This is definitely in the top 10 though.
But if you're in Holyrood, this is literally 300 feet from the distillery. So
nice.
Good tips. Real quick, because I'm going to shut the recording off. Do you want to talk about Caol real quick, and then we will go back, talk about Holyrood a little bit?
Yeah. Sure. So for sure. So actually, I'm holding up the wrong one. Howard's giving me the right one. So this is our first cask pick that we ever brought exclusively into the States with Lady of the Glen. So this is it says 9 years on the bottle. So
check out the dates.
But yeah, I don't know. You probably can't see this. Nando can probably see it because he's got the bottle.
16 days short of 10.
Exactly. So Howard's like, Gregor,
why did you bottle this?
Why did 10 years?
Yeah, if they would have been bottled February 20th, that would have been awesome.
He's like, because it was ready to go and it needed to go in the bottle. We didn't want it to spoil. So it's close to 10 years. We like to call it the 9.99 year Caol. So here are some pictures of us tasting it and picking out in the warehouse. This is
on the left is ours.
This is the octave that we picked out. We sampled it in the warehouse with Gregor and Paul.
So you can see an octave is about 60 liters. A standard bourbon barrel is about 200 liters or 53 gallons. So it really, because of the concentration of wood, it can impart a lot of flavor really quickly. So that's why Gregor was a little conservative. He didn't want to overcook the liquid for us, but we were super happy with it. Really like Pedro Jimenez. It's a sweet sherry. Caol is a knockout from it's one of the Diageo distilleries on Isla, and it's just classic peated whiskey. Diageo makes people buy 10 casks of other stuff for every one Caol that they allow them to buy. So it is a precious liquid, and we were really fortunate that was a cask that Gregor made available for us to import to the U.S. to help kick off the U.S. market.
That's a really interesting fact I did not know, especially because Caol has to they have to be churning out so many casks, because that is a dedicated factory right there.
It is, but they make you purchase so many other things from Diageo to get that liquid.
Hey, I'll buy 10 Klein leashes all day. And
those are tough to get too. Yeah.
I know. I'm joking.
Can we go back to the previous slide?
Yeah, so I'm gonna stop the recording right there. So Cheers to everyone who's watching this on YouTube.